Hello everybody and welcome back to Fazbear Acid. On today's edition of FNAF merch character profiles, we'll be taking a look at a group of animatronics that doesn't seem to get nearly as much love as other groups of animatronics, the Phantoms. Yes, those animatronics from FNAF 3 who either appear burnt or like a bunch of watermelons depending on who you talk to. But despite being on the more undiscussed side, they actually do have a decent amount of merch. But before we get into the merch, for today's Faz question of the video, if Phantom Bonnie was a real character, what do you think he would look like? Classic Bonnie, Withered Bonnie, or perhaps even Toy Bonnie? Let me know in the comments. So with all that being said, let's take a look at the history of Phantom animatronic figures and plushies. The first pieces of Phantom merch actually came out at pretty much the same time, and interestingly enough, they were by two different companies. But from what I was able to gather, the very first piece of Phantom merch was brought to us by Funko in November 2016 with the Target exclusive Phantom Foxy plush. Now, this right here would be the start of a really weird trend that a lot of FNAF merch fans have been memeing on for some time now, and it has to do with the design of Phantom Foxy. He's not exactly accurate, well, not at all. In fact, this is pretty lazy on Funko's part. It's literally just Foxy but recolored in a metallic dark green tone. No attempt to implement accurate withering or make it really look burnt like the actual character. But despite all that, it is a cool looking plushie and nowadays is decently pricey. Not on the level of Shadow Freddy or Golden Freddy, but still above the majority of FNAF plushies. Shortly after this, the other alluded to company would come out with some excellent Phantom animatronic merch, construction sets by McFarlane. Two were made, Phantom Freddy with arcade cabinets and Phantom Foxy with Cam Ace hallway. Can't expect anything less from McFarlane here. These are great looking, accurate figures that definitely stand out amongst all the Phantom merch. And I like the little Phantom Chica cameo here. Now that was all for the Phantoms in 2016, but 2017 would start off right away with two new Phantom figures. In January 2017, Funko released the Pint-Size Heroes line for FNAF, and included in the base line was Phantom Balloon Boy, and in the Hot Topic exclusive wave, a Phantom Foxy. And again here, Funko decided to take the peculiar route of just making the Phantoms metallic green recolors. You may be getting flashbacks to what Funko was doing with the Shadow animatronics at this time too, with the bizarre color choices and making no attempt at implementing the character-specific details. But I must say, at least Phantom Balloon Boy doesn't have any withering like Foxy does, so it is a bit more forgivable. They are both cool looking figures though, so I still like them. Phantom Balloon Boy is very common and very cheap, while Phantom Foxy is a bit on that harder side and a bit more pricey. Shortly thereafter, in the following month, Funko would give their favorite Phantom animatronic the Funko Pop treatment when they released the Target exclusive Phantom Foxy Pop. And of course, not surprisingly, it's just another metallic Foxy recolor. So I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. It's a cool looking figure, but it could have been way better if it was actually accurate. A few months later though, Funko would release another Phantom Funko Pop that is a bit controversial. Out of all the Phantoms Funko could have made a Funko Pop of, they decided to make Phantom Cupcake. Now, this is actually a glow-in-the-dark chase variant of the standard Cupcake Funko Pop, And I know it doesn't explicitly say Phantom Cupcake on the box, but it's pretty clear that's what it's trying to be, despite its clear inaccuracy, which Funko just loves to do. But the reason why this Funko Pop is controversial is because Funko more than likely stole the design of this pop from a fan. On May 22nd, 2015, YouTuber Epic Surfing Vids uploaded a video titled Phantom Cupcake Jump Scare. The video is pretty simple, a fan-made Phantom Cupcake jump scare using a different design from the actual in-game Phantom Cupcake. As you can see, Epic Surfing Vids' design is pretty much identical to the Funko Pop. Now, whether or not Funko knew this was a fan's design, or saw the video and thought it was official somehow, it's still a really bad look for Funko. It is a really cool design though, so the Funko Pop turned out pretty nice. Both pops are not terribly pricey today, just a bit above average compared to most. And that was all for the Phantoms in 2017. Not exactly a stellar year for them, but let's see how 2018 stacked up. 2018 would start off really strong actually, with McFarlane releasing the Office Hallway with Phantom Balloon Boy. A neat little set with that creepy rotting Freddy head and torso. The figure itself is really cool, but the colors are not exactly the most accurate. At least they did include the burn marks, so it truly does look like Phantom Balloon Boy and not just a lazy recolor. A few months later in August, Funko would release yet another Phantom Foxy figure in their Hero World line of figures. He came in a 2-pack alongside Mangle for some reason, and no surprise, it's yet another metallic green recolor. But what actually is a surprise is the fact that this time, it's not a recolor of classic Foxy, but of Nightmare Foxy. So let me get this straight, we are now 3 Phantom Foxy figures in, and they haven't bothered just to make it an actually accurate figure? Also, I don't know why they just didn't do Phantom Mangle here. This Mangle figure is actually pretty good, but it would have been the perfect chance to give Phantom Mangle some merchandise finally. These Hero World sets are pretty niche, and some are actually very expensive in box, and this one is no exception. But if you just want Hulk Nightmare Foxy loose, it shouldn't be too bad. Now, sadly for the Phantoms, it wouldn't be until January 2021 until we got another piece of merch. And it actually was not Phantom Foxy this time, but Funko's other favorite Phantom, Phantom Balloon Boy, in the form of his very own Hot Topic exclusive plush. Now, I actually think this plushie is pretty decent. It's nowhere near as lazy as Phantom Foxy's plush. They actually gave it a varied color scheme and executed those Phantom eyes pretty well. Could it have been more accurate? 100%. But I think it does a good enough job at representing Phantom Balloon Boy. As of now, price on this guy sort of varies. Many ask over $100, but I have seen plenty pop up in the $50 to $60 range, so it's not as insane as his classic plush counterpart. But alright Funko, you are finally stepping things up when it comes to Phantoms. Let's see what else you'll come up with. Oh, it won't be until 2023 until your next Phantom merch? Alright then. Oh, that's... yeah. I really don't know what to say about this one. It's not a metallic green recolor, but some weird, toxic looking black and green Foxy? Yeah, this is pretty bad. This figure was actually a Walmart exclusive, and is still very cheap, but I gotta say, out of all the Funko Snaps figures, I think this is the worst. Despite this figure though, 2023 would actually end up being a pretty good year for Phantom merch when Funko dropped their Fight Line series in October. Included in the line were 2 Phantom animatronics, at long last an accurate-looking Phantom Foxy figure from Funko, and making her merch debut, Phantom Chica. I love FNAF World, so I really like these figures, but just imagine if Funko would have actually gone for accuracy from the jump. Now we move on to 2024, and this is the year where we would get the greatest Phantom merch to date, hands down. Things started off pretty unexpectedly, because in July, Hex would release their Springtrap plush, which, funny enough, included a Phantom Cupcake accessory, giving Phantom Cupcake its second piece of merch. I still think the originally planned knife would have been cooler, but it is nice to see appreciation given to such an obscure character. And I do want to give a shout out to user Mr. SM for pointing this one out on my Shadow Animatronics video, because without that I would have more than likely forgotten about this one. I know a lot of people call it Shadow Cupcake or Phantom Cupcake, but me personally, I consider it a Phantom because, you know, it's from FNAF 3 and there's Phantom Chica, and I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that if you actually look at the texture on Phantom Cupcake, it has that burnt look, so I am going to count him in here. So once again, thank you for pointing this one out, Mr. SM. In November 2024 though, the best Phantom merch we have ever seen, at least I would certainly say so, would drop when youtooz released a full wave of figures and plushies for them. Now, they did leave out Phantom Balloon Boy and Marionette, but they actually included Phantom Mangle in the plush line, which is awesome. But seriously, the whole FNAF 3 wave is, in my opinion, the greatest youtooz FNAF wave so far, and I think a lot of you will agree with that sentiment. The figures and plushies are phenomenal, and they even included Watermelon Chica, which is sick. Well everyone, that is the history of Phantom animatronic plushies and figures as of now. I'm sure many of you noticed that not once did I mention Phantom Marionette, and that's because he got nothing. Not a single figure or plushie has been made for Phantom Marionette, but he is included on the FNAF 3 youtooz print that was available in a limited quantity with the FNAF 3 wave. And even in the print, you can't even fully see him, so the disrespect is just crazy. But all jokes aside, it is sad that he has no merch, so I went ahead and whipped up a few concepts for some Phantom Marionette merch, and I'd like to share them with you now. As you can see, I tried to kind of replicate that Funko style so they are more likely to be approved. As for Phantom merch as a whole in 2025, so far nothing has been made or officially announced, but I'm sure Jazzwares will do something at some point, and quite possibly even Hex or youtooz if they want to make the Phantoms that they missed. But with all that being said, let me know in the comments what you thought, what you want, and what you have, as well as, of course, what you would like to see in the future for the Phantoms. Personally, I'd like to see some mystery minis. I mean, imagine a new wave of FNAF 3 mystery minis in that new mystery mini style that they debuted with the 10th anniversary figures. I think that would be excellent. All the Phantoms, a new Springtrapped Afton mystery mini. They could do Shadow Freddy in there. They could do, you know, Shadow Balloon Boy in there, Shadow Puppets that were in those mini games. They could do so much for a FNAF 3 mystery mini wave, and the box arts, it would look sick. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been fazbear Acid.